Factsverse presents. Mom hears moaning coming from a baby monitor and rushes into the nursery to see the baby isn't alone. Shortly after Roy and Bernita got married, they decided they wanted to start a family. They both always dreamed of having a house full of children, so they decided to try shortly after getting married. When Bernita found out she was pregnant, she was thrilled. She couldn't wait to be a mother. Sadly, things did not turn out the way that she and Roy had hoped. She gave birth to her baby early, and the baby didn't survive. Shortly after losing the baby, Bernita found out that she was pregnant again. Sadly, she gave birth prematurely again, and the baby passed. The same thing happened a third time. Bernita and Roy were devastated. They felt as though their dreams of having a family would never happen. Bernita had a hole in her heart that only a baby could fill. It was always her dream to care for and nurture a baby. She had reached the point in her life where only this would fill that void. And this was when Midnight came into her life. He was an adorable stray kitten. The moment the couple laid eyes on this tiny creature, they knew he needed their help. He was very young and wouldn't make it out on his own. Midnight needed them, and they needed Midnight. When Bernita started caring for Midnight, it filled a bit of the void that she had in her heart. Midnight needed somebody to care for him, and doing so made Bernita feel a lot better about not having a baby of her own. Bernita and Roy stopped trying to have a baby. And that's why it came as such a shock when Bernita found out that she was pregnant again. She was happy but also terrified at the same time. She had hoped that the baby would survive, but she knew the odds of it happening were pretty slim. She never gave up on her dream of having a baby, so she was willing to give it another try. And as the pregnancy progressed, Bernita was very careful. With each doctor's appointment bringing good news, she began to get a bit more excited about being a mother. She began to be more hopeful. And finally, after a full-term pregnancy, Bernita gave birth. Bernita gave birth to a little girl named Stacy, a healthy little girl. She and Roy were thrilled. Bernita believes Stacy is a true miracle for them. She waited for so long to have a baby and had been through so much heartache, and finally she was holding her daughter in her arms. When Roy and Bernita first brought Stacy home from the hospital, they worried quite a bit about how their cat Midnight might feel. He'd been their only baby for quite some time. They weren't sure how he'd feel about this new baby being in his territory. Fortunately, Midnight took to Stacy very quickly. Not only did Midnight love Stacy, he actually became kind of a personal bodyguard to her. Wherever Stacy was, Midnight wasn't far behind. He even slept in Stacy's room at night. Roy and Bernita were thrilled the two were getting along so well. When Stacy was about 6 weeks old, she got sick. Bernita was still very cautious, so she took the baby to the doctor right away. They told her Stacy just had a cold, which made Bernita feel better. Bernita invited her parents over for dinner and to spend some time with their new granddaughter. Since Stacy was sick, Bernita put her down in her crib early. Midnight followed closely behind as usual, and Bernita turned on the baby monitor. While she was sitting talking to her parents, she heard a very disturbing sound. She heard moaning coming from the baby monitor. It was Midnight. He was howling into the baby monitor. When Bernita looked at Stacy, she saw that she was turning blue and was struggling to breathe. Stacy saw that her daughter was struggling and thought that maybe she would lose her like she had her 3 babies before. She, Roy, and her parents rushed Stacy to the hospital. When they got there, the little girl was in full respiratory failure. Fortunately, the doctors were able to save Stacy's life. They told Bernita that if she hadn't gotten there to the hospital when she did, she would have died. Roy and Bernita say Midnight is a hero. They would never have been able to hear their daughter struggling to breathe. If Midnight hadn't been in the room next to that baby monitor, they probably would have lost their daughter. Bernita says she's glad that Midnight went to their home looking for a place to live that day. Roy says Midnight will always be Stacy's hero. Sounds like Stacy has a black guardian angel. Subscribe for more.